We're ready for the next patient. Welcome to the BL Clinic. My name is Nurse B.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jose. Nurse B, who do we have coming in today?
Yes, doctor. Well, on your schedule, I see that we have several clients. Well, doctor, I'm glad you're back from the break room and that you're filled with coffee because we have 3 patients to discuss today. We have Moonlight Chicken, my school president, and Never Let Me Go. All of them have come to us straight from Thai television, and they're ready for us to put our fingers under their scrotums and ask them to cough. Relax.
What?
You can relax, everyone who's watching, because there's no terminal diagnosis in this broadcast.
Yes, none of these patients came in terminally ill. None of them had any kind of reason for us to send them directly into the ER. We just opened up one of the rooms upstairs and put them straight upstairs and did all the examination there. So they didn't need to go to the ER. No flatliners.
Just a little cough syrup. Little cough syrup for one of them.
Let's start with Never Let Me Go. What do you think if we start with that one?
Which featured yet another pairing of Pond and Puin, who we absolutely loved when they debuted together in Fish Upon the Sky, though Puin we remember, of course, from My Tea, where he was in the secondary couple in My Tea. And here they are in a 4th series together. And this one seemed to me to be a step up in production value. I think you and I might have slightly different feelings about it. We both agree it wasn't an A+ level, but I think I enjoyed it a hair more than you may have.
For me, this was one of those almost mid-tier BLs. Like I think it has to do more with the plot than anything. And someone, my drama list says that this series was trying to do this plot-driven, right? BL. It was a very heavy plot-driven BL. The characters were kind of flat overall. There were a couple of round characters, but overall there were a lot of flat characters. And because of this, because it was plot-driven, and I was not as interested in the plot was, about this hotel heir to a hotel fortune or whatever that his dad dies, and and then his uncle wants to kill him pretty much, and all that.
Well, as we find out, first of all, let me just say to our listeners, there are spoilers here, so cut us off and go watch them and finish the series if you don't want spoilers. Now here's the spoiler. The dad dies because the uncle has killed him, which we don't know until the end, probably over halfway through, but you kind of catch on before the series ends that it's the uncle, it's the bad guy. But he kills him, and as you say, he tries to kill the main character, Puin's character, and he tries to kill Puin's mother as well. He just tries to kill everybody. And he's like you're saying, flat characters. I would say what we call in theater 2-dimensional characters, which is flat. They choose, and that character especially chews the scenery. He's not given a lot to play other than "Mwahaha! I'm so evil! I'm gonna get you! You have to sign on to my plan to kill these people! Ha ha ha!" Like really, drooling and foaming at the mouth kind of villain. Which, okay, it's a little cartoonish, and I think the series wanted to have more mature emotions, and maybe they were looking at Kin Porsche. Yeah, Kin Porsche. So they were probably looking at that one and going, let's get in some serious emotions for these actors who are young but have matured a little. Let's give them something a little more grown up. But as you say, the writing sort of made I thought their characters had more dimension. But I felt that everyone around them was 2-dimensional.
But anyway, one thing that we like to do here in the clinic, we like to look at the vitals before the patients come in. And so you mentioned already one of the important vitals, which are the actors. So we have Puin and as Noon, and then Pon as Palm, and then we have the director of this is actually Jojo, who's the director of or was involved at least in the Warp Effect, which just recently finished, and that had a side BL couple, and Friendzone 2, which I believe had a side be a couple also, and then Gay OK Bangkok, right? I think that one also had a BL couple or something.
Did he direct both of them?
I on my notes.
Well, Gay OK Bangkok was like 3 or 4 couples.
In my notes I only have that he was involved, probably directed them, but I'm not sure. He might have just written the script. Yeah.
Well, that was a very sophisticated and mature show. That was an A-level show, in my opinion. I didn't see season 2, but season 1 was absolutely an A-level show. So if I had known that, I would have rolled into this with very high expectations.
The writer of this was, or the writing team, let's say, I would say it's a writing team. There's a couple of people here, and they were involved in Hit by Love. They were involved in Moonlight Chicken. Check out this series, which is a total disaster. The Warp Effect, of course, Bad Body, Enchanté, and My Gear and Your Gown. So this it's a group of writers, right? So some of them have writing credits in all of these different series. But just to give you an idea of where they have worked at, right? And so Hit by Love, which just recently finished, and maybe we can talk about that one later. Moonlight Chicken, which we said we might mention here, excellent series that just finished, and then check out, like I said, a total disaster. But yeah, I mean, some good and some bad ones there.
Are you saying that the group itself didn't all together write all of those series you mentioned? It's that writers from each of those series came together for this one.
Yeah, some of them.
Effort.
I think there were two of them that were involved in maybe a Bad Body or one of those, but yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, basically I'm saying that there's 3 or 4 writers, and that's what they have for their writing credits.
Well, I'm glad you said this, because that background report absolutely confirms my diagnosis, which is that this one had a lot of good in it and had some cringe in it. And from those credits, it sounds like there are shows that were some of the best, some medium range, and at least one high cringe.
Some of the worst, right? So check out this series. In many people's mind, was one of the worst series of the year.
My diagnosis can be summed up in one gesture.
Okay, so let's go to, talk a little bit of what we like, right? So what did we like about this series? I have a couple of notes here. I don't know if you want me to start, or do you want to start?
Well, I liked more of the series than I didn't like, and I think maybe you're the reverse, so I defer to you.
For what I like, I think the premise was interesting. The backdrop really provided an opportunity for social commentary, which is something that we have been seeing in BL a lot lately, and I think it's a good thing. And in this case, we're talking about corruption in Thai society. We're talking about how the rich sometimes step on the shoulders of the poor. So it really provided that framework for that. The problem was, I think they didn't use it as well, but that's on the negative. I think the chemistry between Pon and Puwin was very good. Some people were saying they didn't like it. I thought it was good. I think Puwin works really hard, and you can tell that he works hard. And I heard that he improvised a lot of the romantic stuff, right? So I think he's a hard worker, and it shows. Shimon makes use of the very little and weak material that he was given, like you mentioned before when we're talking about it, that he does have like a more of a flat or two-dimensional character here, but he really did the best to create a compelling character, and I think that's really admirable. I think Shimon and Perth were very enjoyable to watch. A lot of people say this on my drama list. They really like them. Yeah.
I want to see them in their own series. I want to see them as leads.
I think it's funny because we haven't seen a lot of Shimon, and I think Shimon is almost like an underused actor in GMMTV.
Has he been doing straight? Has he been doing Lacons and straight TV? Because I don't think he's not been doing nothing. I think they just put him over in the straight stuff.
A protagonist. It's not like he's always the leading man. What I'm saying is like Nanon has done leading roles. Has done leading roles in heterosexual Black Horns and romantic stories, right? But we haven't seen that with Shimon,
Yes.
I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think we have seen that with Shimon yet.
No, you're right. The closest we've gotten, and it was still a side couple, but it was more substantial than most things he's done, was Edge of
Which was a long
17,
time ago.
My Dear Loser. And that, it was a long time ago, yeah. But, I mean, that was probably his most substantial role.
So, though I think the male figures had a poor showing here, at least the female parental figures, at least they try to have them be supportive of their kids. And accepting of their sexuality. So that was kind of nice. I think Perth is the other thing. I mean, he was just a joy to watch. Whenever he was in any scene, he made it better.
As usual.
Yeah, Perth has always been a good actor. From the get-go, when he was like 17 years old and he was in Love by Chance, he was really good.
He has a sincerity. All of his roles has this natural sincerity that just comes through whatever he does. It's I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's just his natural way of doing it, but it's a real blessing for him.
Yeah. Now, nothing ever got me too bad, but I did like the scene where Nguyen Diao insults Palm and tells him he's just help. I don't know if you remember that. This happened very early in the series. Where they're like dancing or whatever, and the one girl is there, and Nguyen is getting really jealous, and he insults Palm. Yeah, he's drunk and jealous.
He's drunk and jealous.
Palm. It's kind of hard because it's Palm and Pon, and they're so similar. The names are similar. And I have a note here. Basically, I already mentioned this, but that Pooing as an actor has matured a lot. And I enjoy seeing him being confident on screen. I think us being able to see these actors go from, and I think Pooing was okay. He wasn't bad, but to see him grow and become an adult on screen and get these roles that require more maturity, I think is something that I enjoy. So I think that was enjoyable for me. And another thing that I have to say. And big kudos to Pooing for this. He was able to act in English and Thai, and he did it very well. He transitioned between the two languages very well. He didn't feel awkward when he was acting in English. He delivered his lines pretty well. And then he also switched to Mandarin, which I cannot appreciate because I don't know Mandarin, but I thought he sounded good. And just the fact that he can switch between three languages is just amazing in like one scene. So I enjoy that. And I would say you were talking about the Uncle Kid, right? Who was the evil character. But I think actually the fact that he was chewing on those scenes and he just enjoyed them, I think he was just having fun, right? And I think that was fun too. So those are my positives.
Excellent. For me, I'm around a B+ for this series. I always love Pooin. I have a crush on him, but I always love seeing him work. I find he has a sincerity as well. I think, and when we get to the negatives, I'll talk about this more. I think that there are a few areas of growth for his acting. And those showed up here, but just by and large, he could read the telephone book and I'd be happy. He gets those crinkly eyes when he smiles. And I do think that he and Pond, I think that producers are wise to put them together. They do have a chemistry, either they're friends or whatever it is, they work really well together. They look great together as a couple, it fits. So I really enjoyed just seeing them in a vehicle, and a vehicle that was, for me, well enough put together to enjoy. For me, the negative was not necessarily something that was anyone's fault. It was just that they made this story. It was 3 stories to me. It was the love story, it was a crime drama, and I'm forgetting what the third story that I had in mind was, but there was a third one. And I don't like crime dramas. I watch BLs because I want to see the affairs of the heart and how they roller coaster, how they twist, how they open again, how they breathe, how they suffocate. Moonlight Chicken was like, it was like the Stravinsky or the Beethoven of doing that. So the crime drama for me distracts from the amount of time that I see spent on that kind of story. And you have to put the loves and relationship stuff, you got to squeeze it in around the crime stuff. And I don't like it. But that's just me, and that was just a creative choice, and I knew that the series was going to be like that going in, and I decided it's Puin and Pon, so I will watch it anyway, and I'll put up with the crime drama. So I put up with the crime drama. The crime drama, like all crime dramas in the BL genre, except maybe Kin Porsche, it was cheap. It wasn't real. It was like, actors playing thugs in like a 1970s Fantasy Island Love Boat style of, or like Columbo, like I didn't like Kin Porsche seemed much grittier and more realistically violent, and these guys who are the thugs, the kind of thing where you can see the fake punches and all, which leads me to my biggest negative. My biggest negative was the last episode. They made a choice for the last episode that just made me go like, no, wrong. And they went from like an A- down to a B+B for me. And it was the choice at the 11th hour, halfway through the last episode, to separate the couple because all of a sudden, Pon's character, Palm, is insecure. And that's a fine plot line if you do it earlier in earlier episodes and have it resolved by the last episode. Or resolve it during the last episode. But to start it in the last episode, especially in episodes 9, 10, 11, we had seen them bridge the class gap and the insecurity about your class and station gap. They had come together when they were at the retreat at his mom's resort at the beach, and that had been resolved. And then to all of a sudden have it go like, boop, nope, I'm insecure again. It's a little preposterous, and I kind of resent being thrown onto that roller coaster again that late in the game when I'm looking for the sweetness and the denouement. So I really felt that was a misstep.
Like they were piling onto that last episode, all of these multiple, almost climactic scenes that were supposed to be climactic scenes, but they were post-climax, so it was weird. Yeah.
You got to build that slowly over a bunch of episodes. Yeah, it was weird. Sotis made 2 seasons out of that dynamic for the whole run of the series. They didn't do it in the last episode. This one had like bliss, bliss, bliss. Oh, by the way, drama at the end. And I didn't buy it. The other negative, and for me this was very minor, was that in certain moments of anger and extreme sadness, and more the anger than the sadness, but a little both, that Puin, as an actor, hasn't seasoned enough for genuine deep anger or deep sadness to feel truly realistic. It still felt acty in some of those moments towards the end of the series. I thought he was exceptional, and I loved watching him switch back and forth from the goofy teenager in love with his friend to the haughty, cold, rich kid when he has to take over the empire. And that was another thing. BLs have a lot of preposterous plot points, and some of them you go with and some of them you don't. And I went with this one, but I was a little bit like, now wait a minute. And it was that this kid who hasn't graduated high school yet not only steps in to take over the family hotel empire like a big multinational business, but he succeeds at doing it without a bump. I'm like, beggars belief a little bit. But I loved in his acting, I loved seeing the difference between, because I went to a prep school, and I know that kid, and I loved seeing him be that kid in the tie and the suit, and he wore it really naturally. He had the gait, he had the cadence, he had the speed. When he steps in to speak English, like you were saying, to the customers, and he saves the day because he can talk to the customers. He did it with this sort of natural ability and calmness that did not ring of acting. It just looked very natural to him. So he has his strengths over here, and he had those places where I think he can mature as an actor and find some depth to make extreme anger and sadness moments ring true a little
that
better.
He does have family in the States, so I think he does have a very good command of the English language. So
lots of oral.
I wrote a couple of things, and you mentioned a couple of them, so I'm not gonna go too deep into them. But Puin's acting, definitely, I think we both agree that it needs improvement. And again, it was that grimace that sometimes we could see when he was angry. He's showing his teeth or something. It almost looks like he's smiling. It's kind of weird. And I wrote here though that
yes, Like, what's
Yeah,
his name in
like
Golden
like
Blood with that?
Best, I think is his name, or yeah. Here that the scene where he asks Palm to shoot him is the only scene in which he didn't do that. And I don't know if that was just really good directing in that scene, or he just has maybe at that point he kind of could understand what he was supposed to do. But it was a good scene. I thought it was a really good scene. And the other thing I didn't like, and I don't know, you probably forgot about this, but the school bad guy, right? That bad guy felt very ham-fisted, you know? Yeah.
Who was in My Gown, Your Gear.
The character was not written well, you know, and my point being, like, we forget about him because, like, he's there until, like, I think episode maybe 11 or 10, and then he drops off and nobody sees him, and he doesn't have a complete character arc, in my opinion. Right. So, again, a flat character.
Yeah. He apologizes.
The way I summarized this, and I told this to someone, and they were like, "Oh, that's so right." I said, the writers were treating the characters as plot devices. So it's, again, this is a very plot-driven series.
Yes.
So all these characters are just plot devices.
Yes.
Plot devices. Even the mom,
yes.
you know, is a plot device.
Yes.
And so that I didn't like. Yeah.
Both moms.
Both of them. Yeah. I mean, the one when she's not useful anymore, they kill her, literally, and the other one is in a coma because they don't need her anymore for like 10 episodes. Now there was something I wanted to bring up because it was a common complaint, and I sort of defended this series a little bit, and I don't know what you think about this, but there was this almost cognitive dissonance going on where Noon and Palm were at the beach resort and they were having fun and they were in this romantic bliss, and they both had parents that were in trouble, right? So the Noon's mom was in a coma, Palm's dad was getting in trouble, in all kinds of trouble.
In jail.
His life was in danger.
And they had fled assassins.
Yeah, they had literally fled these assassins, and they were supposed to be running for their lives. And here they are in this place, and they're just acting like there was a discordance, and I think a lot of people didn't like it. And I'm going to quote this from my drama list. Someone said, it honestly feels like BL is being written by kittens sometimes. Kittens.
That's hysterical. It is so accurate. Sometimes. See, so in theater and film, there is this concept called willful suspension of disbelief. And the audience knows that it's not going to be realistic, but they want the story, and so you just sort of suspend that would never happen, that doubt, and you go with the story. And BLs beg us to use willful suspension of disbelief very often. And for that one, you're absolutely correct, and I went with it, because I realized that that's just what they were going to do, and I was like, okay. So I forgave that one. I could have forgiven the last-minute drama in the last episode, the last-minute separation, but no, they should know better, and we've seen...
For me, I defended it saying, well, you know, maybe they are in this place and they're trying to forget, and it's almost like they're actively trying to forget, and they're just enjoying the time they have together because they don't know if they're going to have more time together. So I tried to reason, you know, to make it make sense. But, I mean,
what they could have done is, they could have had a lawyer character or someone say, look, your mom's in a coma, but she's going to be, we hope she'll be okay, but she's in a coma, just lay low. And that would have given an excuse for them not to focus on it. And if someone had said about his dad, you know, we've got lawyers on the case, which they did later. But if they early on said, we've got lawyers on the case, we're going to work it out, then those two things would have allowed them the mental space not to be preoccupied as anyone would be, and to go to be more relaxed as they were.
But I think
they didn't do that.
I would say that was the biggest complaint that I saw at least on my drama list, on Facebook. The other note I have is somebody said, I'm so bored of Palm's self-sacrificial nature being his entire personality. Again, flat characters. I mean, I think that was the big thing with Palm. Palm was too vanilla-ish,
Why did Nung love Palm? Well, Palm took care of him, that could be an element of love, but what was it about Palm's personality that made Nung sparkle and want to be with him all the time?
I think for our listeners to understand is, we can contrast it with Moonlight Chicken, in which, you know, we see these characters are very round, right? They're very three-dimensional. And for example, the Li Ming and Hart story, that we don't even spend that much time with them, but we get to know them and we can see why Li Ming likes Hart and why Hart likes Li Ming, right? It makes sense. So here it was a little bit weird, but it's almost like if they are criticizing the class divide in Thailand, I would have liked Palm to become a more rounded character, just because that would mean that he will be more than just someone that serves his master, which is a Noon. And so that I feel like even at the end, that was, to me at the end, it was still not, you know, they were not even, you know, this is my opinion.
Correct. They never fully resolved that. You're right. He ends the series still being deferential, and only at the very end does he decide to call him Noon. Well, you really need, I mean, you made such a big deal out of the class difference and that giving insecurity to Palm and that separating them in various ways, that you needed to tell the story of how that got overcome and made up in episode 10 and 11, not just in 12.
I have Dr. Hernandez, of course, he commented, him and I were talking about this, and we were saying that one possible solution would be to maybe have another season, and then we get to see them in bed, and in bed the roles reverse. Which is totally possible, you know?
You could do a role reversal, but whatever it is, there could be another season in which the story is they're separated a second time by the insecurity and the class divide, and they find their way.
Yeah. And speaking of the ending of this series, another thing that this is not a big issue, but I thought, you know, in terms of analyzing this series and criticizing it to some degree, that I felt like, again, it was a little bit hypocritical of this series that have been talking about this class difference, and they have been talking about how the rich step on the shoulders of the poor, and I didn't like that they make Noon be a hero in the sense that then he takes his position to do good, but at the end, I mean, his mom is there, and he's there, and they have the money that they have, of course, taken from these people, right? And Chopper has the money that his dad has. And I was thinking, you know, in a Western series at least, I think they would have both ended renouncing their inheritance, right? They would just have walked out of it. They would have just say, I don't want anything to do with this money. This is tainted money. I don't want anything to do with it. And I think that was a missed opportunity. But again, I'm thinking about it from a Western perspective.
It's a valid thought. I feel that they did, or they tried to make that point. I don't know that they made it clearly. And for me, what did it was that Nung's character, Nung went to Palm, and he's giving up his full time on the board at the company and letting his mom handle things while he's going to work for Palm at the beach resort. So he's taking a step down into Palm's level of life. And and the way they left it, it was like, okay, he's going to do that, like, I don't know, 3 to 6 months out of the year. Then they'll go back to Bangkok. So you get this sort of feeling that they're going to do both.
Yeah.
My overall positive, that's why I did like it, was because you do get a lot of time with those two together. And you get a lot of comradeship, a lot of love, and a lot of sweetness between them. And that's why I come to BLs. So I was happy enough to make it, like, for me, a B+, and like just a hair above mid-range.
I wrote that this is a mid-tier series. Bad script, okay-ish acting, very much like a Lacorn, not my style. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I think it was actually good until they shot Palm's mom, and then after that I didn't really like the series. Maybe I'll give it a B. A B minus.
The things that
to C+.
Sure,
maybe
totally
B minus,
fair.
B minus, yeah.
It seemed It seems to me that the things that both of us did not like about it were our same complaint with so many BL series, and that was overreaching for drama when your love story was enough. It was satisfying enough.
Yeah. So this patient is like, he has a really bad cough.
For me, it's asthma.
Asthma, yeah.
For me, it's asthma, and they just need an inhaler.
Yeah. But it wasn't that bad. I think for people, if somebody wants to watch it, I think they should. Especially if you're a fan of pooing or pawn, you should definitely watch it. It has a lot of good pawn pooing moments.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of Perth and or Shimon, I think this one would be better for you to watch the cuts because they're not really in the series as much. So just watch the clips if you're not a fan of pawn and pooing, but you're a fan of Perth and Shimon.
If you're not a fan of pawn and pooing, you may want to seek out a mental health expert, in my opinion.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the BL Clinic. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep watching BL and support your actors. But please, don't obsess too much.
That's right. Remember to be a fan, but not infatuated. So we hope you enjoyed our work, and we'll see you back in the clinic. Cough, cough.